Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. It's Marie with Swipe in the City.
And you've got Michelle here.
And Brooke's here too. I don't know.
You gotta speak up.
Triple trouble.
Are you
Yes,
sure
that's
you're
right.
here? You sounded unsure.
I'm pretty sure. I'm 99.9% sure.
You're the one who I think has the most energy from your coffee at this point.
Yeah.
It's true. We'll see what strange, bizarre things come out of my mouth that I regret saying later.
Yeah.
Crying for that.
My trainer has me doing fasted cardio, and I'm pretty sure that means without coffee, at least for now. So, this is all I've had so far today. I'll have to clarify with her. I think I can have coffee because it's a stimulant. It'll make me go faster.
Coffee is like no calories. I
Yeah.
think it's like 5 calories. I can look on my Starbucks app because it gave me the calories when I ordered that.
I think coffee's fine. Maybe I'm just
As
dumb.
long as you're not putting hella creamer.
Yeah.
It's like 50-50, like Starbucks white chocolate creamer.
If you were getting like one of those, what do we like in the winter?
The peppermint mocha.
Peppermint mocha with like the whipped cream on top.
Yeah,
I mean,
that would be a
that's
no.
a whole dessert.
I kind of want to walk into the gym with one of those, with like a brand new one of those, and like walk into the gym and just like work out with it. I mean, it would make me sick to my stomach.
Yeah, no, I don't know that would be a great idea.
You would
How
have the
has
buzz
all
from
that
it.
been going?
Better now. I started and got like a week and a half into working with her and trying to like clean up food and stuff, and then well, I was half-assing my food, I'll be honest. And then I fell down the stairs.
What?
Oh yeah, I like trying to walk blue one morning. I like fell halfway down our
Oh my
concrete
gosh.
stairs.
Oh.
And so I was like okay, but I was pretty like bruised
Yeah.
up. So I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna lift and potentially injure myself.
Yeah,
So then
probably wise.
So then I took a week
Can see
off.
the bruises.
What bruises?
What's on your knee?
That's my scar.
Oh, I've never seen that before. That's not from the stairs?
No.
Does that scar have a story?
The scar does have a story.
That's for another day.
Yeah, for another day. But yeah, so honestly just kind of like got off track, got super busy with work, missed a session because I overslept, and then went once and then had Mexico and was gone. So long story
I'll do it
short,
to
just
ya.
got back in to it like last week, but had a really productive week this week. So it's just
Nice.
Love that.
baby steps.
You gotta enjoy
Baby
Mexico, you know? Like if you go to
Oh, I
Mexico
did. Did you
and-
see my story that Sunday when I was wilding out?
your little
Just
tequila tasting?
Getting drunk at, what is it, Mr. Frog? Senior Frogs?
Oh
my
my
goodness.
Just me and the staff just partying it up. The DJ played a song for me. It was great.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I can't go.
Sounds like a
can't go there
Kesha song.
on a plan.
Yeah.
No
We're not
way.
calling it a diet.
If you didn't have a pina colada, did you really go to Mexico? I don't think so.
I don't like pina coladas.
Really?
But I'm a strawberry daiquiri person. So
Okay, your
interesting.
frozen beverage of choice.
Ooh, if we go blended, I'd probably have a margarita is still gonna be my go-to.
Have
I
you
do
ever had
love
a
that.
Miami Vice?
I've heard of it, but I don't know what's in it.
I think, is it Miami Vice? It's strawberry and regular margarita swirl, or is it a daiquiri and pina colada swirl?
I think it's that one.
Daiquiri and pina colada swirl. Yeah, no, it's delicious.
I can do pina colada like mixed things. I'm just not a coconut person. I like coconut oil as like stuff to like moisturize and as useful as it is. But like that's about
And
it. I don't like
for
eating it.
other things.
Yeah.
And for other activities.
But that's about it. I don't like the taste of it. It's weird to me.
Hmm.
Except I did like those cookies that you brought.
What about coconut shrimp?
It had like
You don't like coconut?
can't
Oh,
eat shrimp.
shellfish. Like, we've been over that. You're really missing out. It kind of sucks for you.
Coconut shrimp is like pretty fucking
It's
good.
really good. You
Yeah.
know,
I'll never know.
You'll never know.
so Red Lobster has like endless shrimp, and you can choose. And that is one of the shrimps you can choose. You know, don't hate it till you try it.
I
To
haven't been
segue
to
into dating, Red Lobster is a date spot.
Oh
Yes
my
or
gosh.
no?
Okay, let's play a game. What is the like worst location or like date concepts that you've been on?
Oh, worst date concept or location.
I can start if you need.
Yeah, go for it.
I had, so especially because we're going to be talking about dating college versus dating now and like kind of, the tricks of the trade, so to speak. I
You got tricks? Because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
I just make the same mistakes over and over, and then wonder why the same outcome is still happening. That's my magic trick.
Says the therapist.
Yeah. So in college, this guy asked me out on a date. I was during the improv troupe tryouts, just by the way. So that's where we met. So it was off to a great start. It was after a game of freeze, and then we just locked eyes, and no, I'm just kidding. So yeah, he asked me out, and then he picked me up at my dorm, which I thought was like, good move. And then I was like, so where are we going? What are we doing? And he was like, oh, I don't know. I thought like we could go eat somewhere. I was like, great start. Food is usually involved. And so he had no idea. And then he was like, what about Waffle House? And I was like, well, I seem like a good breakfast. And there's people watching if things get awkward, lots of truck drivers.
Waffle House.
I do. But for a date, I mean, I don't know. So that was interesting. And then after he just like dropped me off, I'm trying to remember if there was a kiss. I think there might have been, like post-waffle, like in the car.
Did it taste like maple syrup?
Probably on bacon. Because you can't go without, you gotta go, it's like a steak and egg place. You gotta like have a side of bacon or hash browns or something. Yeah.
I like their, like the breakfast, they're like bowls that have like the potatoes and the eggs. And that's like my favorite thing. Mm.
Well, okay, so I think that for work, well, I mean, it was a good time and also it was college, so who cares? But that for maybe concept, but maybe one of the worst dates I've ever been on. There are many, but I had a couple margaritas and we had like driven there together, and I don't know why the concept of just like getting an Uber didn't cross my mind. I felt like very locked into the situation for some reason, and it was post college. This guy hit the trifecta of like, oh my God, I need to like abort. He was like, he tried to argue that the Civil War was about states' rights, then was followed by the Confederate figures being removed from college campuses was erasing history.
Also, not to interrupt, but why were these the conversations you were having on a first date? Do you normally talk about like U.S. history on a date?
No, I don't. I think
I would be shook.
I think,
like unless you're at a museum.
Well, also it came up because he mentioned he had a friend. I think this is how it came up. He mentioned he had a friend who had a cop, and then I was like, oh God. But I have to note, like, I think there's several deal breakers. If I found out you voted for Trump, I'm leaving. If you don't believe in like the existence of police brutality, also leaving. So like he brought up his friend was a cop or whatever, and I was like, oh, okay. And then he was saying that like cops get a bad rap and all this stuff. So I had to ask a follow-up, like to figure out if I needed to abort the mission. And then it progressed and got worse and worse. And I think was like 3.5 years or so, I don't know, margaritas deep at this Mexican restaurant. I was like, I don't know how to get out of this. This is terrible. That was a really rough one for me. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you
made it home safe.
And here I am years later, still going. So it turned out fine. Yes. Live to tell the tale. Oh, I think his name was also like Brad or Brett or something, which also I should have known just from that.
Yeah. No.
That was the first red flag. No Brads.
Chads, Brett.
Yes. Nope. Yeah.
Nope.
What do you have?
You're both looking at me.
Yeah, you got some bad dates?
I'm trying to think.
I mean, I've had plenty. I'm trying to think of like a standout.
Or like a I feel like going and seeing a movie is a bad first date.
It is, because you don't get to talk.
But that's what you do like in middle school and high school.
I was going to say like the last time that was like a first date for me would have been in college. What a great segue.
There you go. Well, okay, I slightly disagree just because, okay, I think, my ideal first date, because I'm really like jaded.
April 24th, because it's not too hot or not too cold.
Okay, this is, before being in a long-term relationship, this was what I did because I was, dating was rough. I would show up like 10 or 15 minutes early, close out, get a drink, close out so I could leave very easily if I wanted to, have the date show up, and then if it was like a no-go, I'd be like, okay, sorry, and bye, and didn't have to wait to pay. But I think like first dates are really awkward, and it can be like hard to not make it feel like an interview. So I feel like if you have something else to talk about where people can show like that they have a brain a little bit, or that they like know about something, is like good. So either just drinks, there's a little social lubrication, or like an activity that you can kind of like use to talk about. So if you went to like Violet Crown in Austin and then like had drinks in the lounge after and like shared, like they have good food there, and then you could like talk about the movie, so it's less so like, what do you do for a living? How long have you like been at your job? Do you like your job? Like what are your hobbies?
Are you sitting in on my dates? Because
No, okay. This was a conversation I was having with my cousin the other day. She's going through the dating life. You know, she's trying to. It's like for her. You know, she's talking about it's a numbers game, and I was like, how do you like go on these dates and not make it feel like a job interview? Like it's so hard to break it and make it feel organic. So like, I don't know how to do that.
Well, I feel the problem with it being a movie, though, a couple of things. Like, A, you're in a dark theater sitting next to each other, which I feel like has this kind of like unsaid pressure of like holding hands.
Some sort of like physical.
Or something physical.
Do you feel pressure to hold hands on a first date?
No. But like if I were sitting in a movie theater next to somebody, I'd be like, okay, well, this is a little awkward. I don't know. But you also can't talk.
Do you hold hands with Andrew in the movies?
Andrew and I have never been to a movie together, actually.
I feel like
I mean, we would if we did, or some kind of arm around you thing.
Of course they would. Have you seen them at the bar? And the pool?
Yeah.
And probably the grocery store?
Ooh.
No, we've never been grocery shopping together. I don't go to the grocery store, Michelle.
Canoodle by the cannolis in the bakery section of H-E-B?
If I went to H-E-B, but nope. But no, like you also just can't talk like during a movie. That's the bigger thing to me.
And you're
like,
sitting by someone you don't know.
Afterwards, it does give you that built-in conversation, but like unless it's like kind of an informal, like I mean, even like a drive-in. I mean, that would I've told that story before.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, you mentioned that one multiple times.
But that has to just be that.
Well, you go to the drive-in to like make out or something. I feel like.
Well, yeah, there was the guy that I had to. He didn't have a car at the time, and of course now he drives a Tesla. That I went out with before, like back during like COVID days, and he went to go put his arm around me, and I was wearing my glasses, and he went like right in my face and broke the glasses, and then I had to drive home from Round Rock.
Ew. Also, you went to Round Rock for a date. That's too much effort.
I would never.
See, I think that's kind of like the movie thing of like for a first date, like sitting through a 2-hour movie plus potentially having to do drinks or something after.
Yeah,
that's like a minimum.
It was a second date.
That's like a minimum of a 3-hour date for someone you don't know, and you'd rather be with your friends at that point anyway.
Yeah, it was a second date. He also doesn't drink, which should have been more topic.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, that's fine. I think paddleboarding would be a good date idea.
Oh yeah, because it's an
activity.
Not on a first date
Not
for me. If I don't,
well, I guess you can't really talk when you're paddleboarding either.
It's hard. It's
like
hard
I'm
to
not
talk.
saying like go to Party Cove.
and if they're even just like actual I know paddleboarding, we need to like distinguish between the two. I was gonna say distinctish, so my brain's working today.
Yeah, we're fine.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like anything that's like too potentially physical. Because what if they're like really athletic and they're like way ahead of you the whole time, and then like a bathing suit on the first date? Like I'm not really into that.
Yeah.
Also, if they're paddling ahead of you on a first date, like that's a sign. Like
that's rude.
That's
rude.
That's a red
go
flag.
away. They just leave you. I feel like that would happen to me. I would just get left to my own devices. I'd have to like call my brother and be like, "Hi,
I need a
can
tow.
you come paddle and find me?
Oh.
I'm in the lake."
I think you know your way around Lady Bird Lake.
Yeah, I could figure it out.
Forwards or backwards. No, that's a sign that they like.
Yeah,
not
you just turn around to go home.
Socially, emotionally intelligent to like cue in of like the date is about like connecting with a person. It's not about paddleboarding. The other thing about paddleboarding is there's not enough like with activities are good because there's ambiance that you can comment on, but on paddleboarding it's like you're on a quiet lake, so they're like. There's nothing you can be like, hey, like, that's so funny over there. They're paddling too. Like, that doesn't really hit, you know?
Like, look at that goose.
Wow. And then there's like awkward silences and you're just like paddling. I don't know.
I guess I would say there's an exception if you have like if you both paddle actively enough, and you go with a group, then that could actually be a good if you want to do like a group first date.
Yeah,
that
like
could
if
actually
you're an
be
athletic
good.
person,
Like
already.
Mike used to do that. I feel like he used to go.
Mike,
the producer,
Mike. Yeah,
I feel like he used to go on paddle boarding dates as a first date, like all the time.
Feels right for him.
How do you feel about what's your take on like if it's an app date? Instead of doing a one-on-one first date, to be like, hey, I'm going out with my friends to this place. If you want to meet us, like, come join. Maybe you bring a friend or two also, and then just
I've never had that work out well, but I'm usually pretty drunk by the time I'm doing that.
You're usually inviting. In my experiences with you doing that, you're already drunk when you're inviting them. Yeah. So it's kind of just.
Oh, right. It's not intentional. It's just like, hey, we're at Jackalope if you want to join, and they're like.
But I like the idea of like a group date too, because then you can kind of see the dynamic with friends,
and it's less pressure.
It's less pressure. Also, like if you're one of those people, like there are still people who are nervous about meeting some stranger from the internet, and I think that gives you a little bit of safety.
Yeah, I feel like a group date is more pressure
because you have to impress the friends on the first date. Because
you have to be concerned with how everyone perceives you.
Yeah, I don't know how I would feel if someone
meet them eventually.
I think.
Yeah, but you don't have the like buy-in. You know, you don't have your champion presenting the
your
deal.
Value prop.
I think I would be okay with it. Like if someone invited me to do that, I'd be okay as long as I was bringing a couple friends with me to even it out, because it feels like a weird dynamic to have like 5 people you don't know staring at you and you're the only single like on the other team basically. So
yeah, I guess it's different if it was like, hey, like Brooke and Lindsay and I are out and about. You're out and about. Let's meet at Bolden Acres and have a drink. Like, let's all hang. That's true. That is a little bit of a different
dynamic. I think that's something to tie it back to today's topic of college. Like, I feel like that is something that's very, like, more collegiate. Like, there were a lot of group dates in college, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe y'all had different.
I didn't date a lot. But I did hang out with a lot of people, you know.
Well, I feel like you do a lot of things in big groups in college. Yeah. Like, I mean, I had like serious boyfriends, so it was also a little bit different there. But like, we did a lot of things in our like track, quote unquote, frat, because that's basically the dynamic of it.
So how did you date in college?
How did I date in college while I was in a relationship?
I mean, like, how did you land? Like, tell us. How did you have a relationship in college? And when I was that age, I was like, I don't know how to make this happen.
Well, honestly, like, I think back on it sometimes, and like, in a way, I feel like I did kind of miss out on that, like, finding yourself college experience. And so when I moved to Austin, I feel like I spent probably like the first 4 years really of my time here kind of just being in college. Like, I feel like there was almost like I was like a little stunted in a way.
You like did it. You like flipped flops the order of things.
Exactly. Like I totally flip flopped it.
We're doing great, y'all.
We're fine. It's been a week.
These are all official terms, but have you ever had a dating flip flop?
You ever flippy flopped on a flipping date?
You don't really grind my gears.
Oh my god. But so like my first serious boyfriend though, which was like the main relationship through college, I had been dating him in high school.
Oh, okay.
We started dating my junior year. He was a year older than me.
Oh.
I know. So I got to go to 2 proms.
Wow.
But yeah, so we dated and he stayed local his first year in college and went to like the local community college, just for like financial reasons.
Did you get to go to college parties?
No, because he was in community college and lived at home.
Oh, less glamorous.
And any of the college parties that would have been part of that community college would not have been anybody that either of us would have wanted to like be around. Gotcha. They were like the kind of like people in high school that we never talked to, but not to be like rude.
You can't sit with us.
Yeah, no, basically. But like, so then when I was deciding where to go, I wanted to like stay. I went to the city, which is like local enough. and he ended up transferring to the same college.
Oh, okay.
I think
What was that?
after my first semester.
What was that like having him like was he transferring just to be with you basically?
No, he actually wanted to go there more than I did. I wanted to go to DePaul, and my mom wouldn't allow it because it was too expensive, and I still haven't forgiven her. Just kidding, I kind of have. When I think about my student loan debt, I do, which is exactly why she wouldn't let it happen. But long story short, he had wanted to go to UIC before, like, I was deciding between the two, but like that was already an option for him. Okay. When he was like looking into school and had basically decided I'm going to do like community college, get some credits, and then transfer.
Were you excited that he was coming to the same school, or were you feeling like it was kind of like hard to spread your wings? Yeah.
It was convenient. And he had gotten me like into running and into track. So it was like we both were on the track team then too. So it was like,
high school.
It worked out very nicely until he cheated on me with my teammate my junior year.
Rude.
Or no, that would have been my sophomore year that happened. Then I was dumb enough to move in with him my junior year. Luna was the best part to come out of that. And then we broke up like spring of my junior year.
So comparing like your college mindset to now and how you approach things maybe a little differently, like how did you process that experience of being like cheated on and then staying with him and moving in versus like if that were to happen to you now, like what would you do?
Would not have made that decision.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it was just like comfort with the relationship and like the fear of like kind of leaving, and then also this like kind of guilt and like wanting to forgive him, and like it took kind of like talking to somebody else and realizing like I really don't, I don't forgive him. B, like I don't feel for him the same way that I did.
It sounds like you got a little manipulated, that like he somehow gaslit you to make you feel guilty even though he's the one who cheated. Like,
girl, you got no idea how much I was gaslit.
It was like
that term didn't exist when I was in college, but if it did,
he was like, it was just all of a sudden I just fell into another vagina. I don't know how it happened. I feel like a victim.
It was like a full affair.
Yeah.
Like he was cheating on me for months, and I knew, like it was one of those things I was like asking about it, and he's like, no, like that's crazy, I would never do that.
Why are you so paranoid?
Yeah.
What does this say about you? I thought we had trust, babe.
Exactly. And and then it all came crumbling out, and she was also hooking up with one of the other people on the track team.
Damn.
Who had like an on again, off again thing, and ended up getting punched in the face by some of our friends.
Oh my gosh.
So
that's what you call unethical sluthood, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also the incestual aspect.
I was gonna say, just go
That's
a little
very-
beyond.
That's very college.
And and it's like, so, and like from what I've heard too from like some of like my other friends who were on the guys track team, was just like these conversations were happening in the guys locker room, and like they all knew she was sleeping with not just like the two of them, but like other guys on the track team too.
They
and,
all
like,
knew.
It was so gross. I was like, you need to get STD tested.
That was something that kind of happened to me in college, which I ended up being a really difficult experience when I went to college. So my friend from high school had gone there. She was a junior when I was a freshman. And so like naturally I became friends with all her friends as well. And a lot of them were guys. And I started dating one of them pretty early on. I mean, it was college, so the relationship was like, a semester. But after that happened, like slowly all the guys in our friend group, like that weren't in relationships already, like tried to sleep with me. And being like much younger, I thought that like they were actually like interested in me. Like I didn't have the wherewithal like to know that, so like it was one person, and then it was kind of like a friends with benefit situation, which I was okay with, and we were like actually friends and it didn't ruin the friendship. So
that's rare.
I was okay. Yeah, it is rare. I was okay with that. But then after I was like, you know what? I actually want like a meaningful relationship with someone. So since this isn't that, I think we should stop or whatever. And then another person started, and then another one had a crush on me that I knew about. Oh, no. And I was like, you know what?
You're so popular.
But I just felt like really passed around. I felt so uncomfortable, especially because I looked at all these guys as like genuine friends and was like, oh, so were you just waiting for me to break up with so-and-so before you could have a chance? And I talked to them about it, and they're like, well, you know, you're new to our friend group and like you're pretty, so like obviously we're going to be interested. And I was like, well, what about, you know, my friend? Like, how come you're not doing this with her? And she's like, well, you know, obviously we think she's pretty too, but like she's been in our friend group for longer. And I'm like, so
because I'm new?
So I knew that I don't get to be considered like, I thought we were actually friends. It was really weird.
Yeah.
I didn't know at first. I was kind of like going through this experience of like, you know, when you first go to college, like that's where I first discovered like the feminine power that's like, oh, like if you want to sleep with some guy, you can just say, hey, I want to go home, and pretty much they're all going to say yes. So I was like, oh, I'm hot shit. And I was kind of like ego tripping off of that.
Yeah.
So at first I was like wow.
Twin XL bed.
Yeah, exactly. At first I thought, oh, all my friends think I'm so hot, like I'm hot shit. And then I was like, this feels so gross. Like, why are all, like, and then another one tried to sleep with like 4 or 5 different guys that we were friends with. And it was just not a vibe.
Yeah, that's always like disappointing, especially like when you're that young. I feel like you're still really coming to like, you don't have the same, I guess, like confidence.
Yeah.
Like I know I don't have the same confidence now that I do now.
Or even just like
sure.
skills to understand that when like some guy is nice to you, that it doesn't mean that he like values you.
That's huge.
And it's hard to know that difference. I feel like I've heard a lot of women, like college or not, talking about how like it does really hurt when you think that you have a friend and then you realize like they're just waiting for their opportunity to be able to sleep with you.
Yeah.
And that's what it was all. And all that feels like it wasn't real.
Yeah.
And like that's something that's, I don't know, I think it's hard to go through.
Yeah. Yeah. And it definitely hurts the closer that you think that you were too.
Yeah.
But yeah. Michelle, what was your dating experiences like?
I was in a relationship.
So
let's see. Well, and I had a very different college experience because I stayed home and I went to a commuter school. So I like truly didn't have a college experience. It was like,
and I thought I was robbed.
Like showed up. Everybody there was probably between there were, you know, I'd say maybe 20 to 25% of the people in my classes were actually like my age starting college. Everybody else was going back to school, working in school, older, potentially married, different life stages. So like I don't even have any like college friends.
That's so wild.
Which is weird. Yeah. Like there's a handful of people that, you know, I'm still like connected with on LinkedIn or whatever.
Yeah.
But like when you're LinkedIn,
we love to swipe on LinkedIn.
But no, like I don't have like a college friend group or anything. So, cause when I started, I was still hanging out mostly with like people from high school. And then especially cause I was still kind of in the neighborhood.
Yeah. And so your Portland friends are like all high school.
Yeah.
That's
high
wild.
school. All of my friends in Portland are pretty much either from high school or the last company I worked at.
So take us down memory lane. How did you meet your guy or person?
Yeah. So it's funny I say no college friends because I had made one. And
do you still talk?
We don't, sadly.
Aww.
Sadly, we do not. I'll have to like find her on Instagram or something. But so what had happened? She had gotten invited. She went to a party and got invited to a different party. And she's like, oh, you should like come. There's this like cute guy here, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right, whatever. I'm always down to go to a party. And it was in kind of like the area that I lived in. So I was like, yeah, whatever. And so trying to think if that's when I was living in my apartment. I like lived in an apartment for 6 months during college. It's a long story, but I think I was living there at the time. But yeah, so we went to this party and but it wasn't like a college party. It was kind of like a bunch of people who had been friends since high school threw a party at like their friend's grandma's house or something. It was just very, very, very interesting. But yeah, so I had like met my ex there. We started talking and then, we were together all through when I graduated. So I never really went on like true like first
Dates.
dates and like kind of what Marie and I were talking about earlier, like the apps, at least for me, like the apps were not relevant when I like started college or in high school really. And so it was really interesting being in that relationship as like the apps were starting to come out, and that was like a whole new thing because I still had kind of that like mindset of like, oh, well, online dating, like websites,
That's
like
for
that's
old
for
people.
old people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like if you're
that's for like old sad people. But yeah, so it was interesting. It was interesting too because like I'd say throughout my years in college, like there were definitely people that I would meet occasionally, like through, you know, classes or whatever, that I'd be like, oh, this person's interesting. But being in a relationship, obviously, like you don't pursue it and you don't like go down that path.
Yeah.
So it is kind of interesting to think of if you were like, you know,
to be
single
Yeah.
in college.
I would have pursued a few guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
There was one guy on the tennis team who was Norwegian.
Ooh. That is the one thing I think that was a plus about college dating is it's so easy to meet people. You can meet a new person every day, and it's organic. And for me, like that's so much easier to be able to like pick up on someone's vibe immediately and have like, you know, be able to like play off each other and like have a normal conversation. And like with the app dating, I have like yet to experience something that like doesn't feel like an interview.
Well, yeah, and like I think that's why to me it's so like the concept of using a dating app in college is so wild because
you don't need to.
You have so many and like people do nowadays, but like
your life is
they have so many opportunities to meet people and like yeah, I mean like I met people that I probably like would have pursued too had I not been in a relationship.
Would you have preferred to be single in college?
I wouldn't. I think the only thing that I'd probably no, I don't even know if I would change that with moving in with Andy. No, I don't think so. Just because of like what has come of that, like not to get cheesy, but like what I learned.
Yeah.
But I do think it would have been interesting. It definitely would have been a different experience. I also don't remember like my single friends using dating apps.
Yeah.
A lot. Like
I think it was like kind of right as we started to get out of school that it started to become a thing. Because I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember.
September 12th, 2012. When was Tinder created? So that would have been
that was
sophomore year of college for me. I graduated high school in 2010. So,
but that's like created, not necessarily when it like started to get popular.
So that would have been like the beginning of my senior year of high school.
What's up?
Class of 2013. Heyo.
Heyo. But yeah, I know it's kind of an interesting thing because I think even if I would have been single in college with where I went, I don't think I would have really met that many people through school. I think it still would have been going down like to visit friends who were going down to U of O or OSU or like other things. But yeah, so
yeah, I feel like if I'd had a different approach to what I did in college. Like
we live and we learn.
I was surrounded by like all people who are really smart, passionate, and also like the other thing was like you knew that they weren't like it was a small school of 2,000 kids. So when you were at a party,
where did you go to school?
Colorado College.
Okay.
So when you like met someone at a party, if you didn't know them, like you knew who they were, you might know who they were friends with, or your friend might know like who they're friends with. And it's like, I feel like everyone is like pre-vetted. So it's very different to like, oh, I would go home with someone and not think twice about it. Now I have never gone home with someone that I met out. Cause I'm like, I'm not trying to get murdered. Watch too many crime shows to do that. No.
Yeah, cannot retweet that one.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, I know one of the things we want to talk about, like dating then versus dating now, but also I think it's none of us had what you would like think of as a traditional college dating experience.
Yeah.
I feel like
when I listen to You Up and, Jordana talks about some of her experiences and like Jared, I'm like, that's so wild to me.
Like what?
Well, like Jordana had her like on and off again situationship kind of a thing, which to me also sounds like, I mean, I had friends that were in kind of similar things too. So it's just like, I'm like, that to me feels like the quintessential college dating experience, which is kind of fucked up, but
there's something I did learn a big lesson from doing that my senior year of college. I met this guy who he didn't go to our school, but he was in the band of some other guy I knew who was like what we call it townie, right? As you say. So, but we were like, I saw him for pretty much on and off my whole year senior year. I knew it wasn't probably gonna, I don't know, go like, I wasn't going to date him after, but I was trying to still be like the chill, cool girl or whatever. And so I didn't ask like what page we were on until about 6 months in. And I thought we were like, getting to like the track of like dating or whatever. And so I asked him just so I knew, because I was like, I need to get my head straight if this is not what I think it is, which was fine. Yeah. So I told him, I said, hey, like, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Like, whatever answer you have is totally fine. I just want to know so, like, I'm clear on, like, how I need to be thinking of this. Yeah. So, like, what do you think that we're doing? Like, what page are we on? And he was like, oh, I'm not on the same note with any other girl. Okay, so I was like,
what does that mean?
I think that meaning, like he's not, like, seeing someone as seriously as he's seeing, like, me. You know what I mean? Like, he's not, like,
but he's still seeing today.
I know. Today. I don't know. I thought that meant, at the time, I thought that meant like, oh, okay. So like, we're like
progressing.
Yeah, we're progressing. He's like, I definitely really like you, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, great. So, and he was doing all these things that like a boyfriend would do. Like he came to we basically have like homecoming, which is basically prom 2.0 at my college, where you have to like ride a bus to like a downtown Hilton and all this stuff. He wore he tux. He got me like, nice tequila, for my birthday. He like, when I was writing my thesis, he would like
tequila for your birthday.
I thought that was a nice touch. Okay. I was like 22 at the time. No, 23.
Oh man.
Like he like when I was writing my thesis, he did really nice things to help me like de-stress. He was offering to like go with me to look at cars because I was looking at a new car and like make sure I didn't screw it around. Like, I don't know. It seems
that
like
is very boyfriendy.
And so the next week he was like, oh, I realized, I was like, hey, are you still coming over so we can look at cars? And he was like, oh, I realized I should be much more careful with my words, and like basically completely backtracked. And so that is how I learned, don't wait 6 months to ask someone just because you would want to seem like you're like not putting pressure and you're making things organic. Like, I think it's good to be like intentional and straightforward with what you're looking for. Hey, I'm looking for something casual. Hey, like, I'm looking to date around right now, or like, hey, like, and I think that's okay without seeming like, at that age, I thought I would look like a total psycho for saying that. And now I'm like, not as much.
I do feel like back then though, like when you are in those kind of earlier years, it does come across as like, oh, she's a psycho. Rather now I feel like approaching 30, it's just like, no, dude, I'm just direct. Like we're adults.
Around.
We're full grown adults.
Yeah.
One thing I was gonna say to piggyback off of that too is not assuming people's intentions or where they stand. No matter like what like you perceive as them doing like boyfriendy things or things like that. And I think that'll actually tie into like the future episode we do on the Duck Boy story. Because there were some assumptions that I made. So I think we'll tie into that. But like, because like, honestly, I feel like I've been on the other side of this where I've been very like, fun, flirty, sweet, wanting to hang out a lot, but completely like not physically interested in a guy and like friend zoned him, and kind of like they're like, but you're acting and doing all these things, like we're building towards something. And so I think that's where like, again,
guys get so confused about like you're just being a nice person and a friend and you have chemistry, and they're like, oh, that means we're gonna be inside each other. Great.
Yeah.
They're also, I mean, this is beyond that. Like, that does happen, but this particular instance with like Jurassic Park, I definitely was like leading him on.
Well, and like the reverse of that too is like girls tend to think if you're doing things like going to like cars and like whatever.
Yeah, that's true. It's not really gendered.
Our perception is like, okay, that means he wants to be my boyfriend.
Yeah. Right.
It was like when Andrew and I were like putting together the like tile thingy on my coffee table.
Coffee table.
One of my coworkers was like, he was like, oh, that's like boyfriendy. And I was like, it is. And then I got all nervous and I was like, oh no, what if it is?
Yeah.
Yes! You think someone who's just trying to bang you is going to sit around and put 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter tile? There's like 1,000 tiles on this table. That's a lot. I mean,
There's actually, I think there's more than 1,000 tiles on this table.
that would be
based on the number of times I had to go back and buy more. But it was soothing. We thought it was a soothing activity.
It's very cute. I like that.
Well, but then I'm like getting in my head, right? And I'm like, well, like I can't assume that because he wants to put tiles on a table,
This is true.
that he wants to be in a relationship
This is true.
with me. So that was like where that anxiety came from. But
Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah, just to never. I think assumptions in general, right? Like just get you kind
In
of into
life.
trouble, and
yeah,
you no
an
one,
ass.
yeah, no one knows the intention of like something besides like the person who did it. Really.
Yeah. Well, and that's why Jared always says, Uncle Jared,
Uncle Jared.
Uncle Jared, that like,
J-Train.
when you're going to have that conversation too of like stating what you want versus letting it up to them, like
Right.
approaching it as like, okay, well, like we've been having a lot of fun and like this is where I'm at.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to fuck you, or I do want to fuck you.
I think that's also like that kind of reminds me of just like as we kind of are getting a little bit older and like learning like more about dating is kind of in the same way. I'm gonna laugh at this, but that you like, you know, when you go into like a job interview, like instead of being like, oh, I hope that they like me and I'm good enough and like my resume is built up enough, having the perspective instead of what can they do for me? Is this going to be a good fit for me? Am I going to be happy here? And so I think when I was younger, I was like, oh, is he going to think I'm interesting enough? Is he going to, am I going to be pretty enough? Or like self-conscious about like certain things. And now like, do you have the qualities that I need like in a partner? Do you have what I'm looking for? And kind of having like, oh, no? Okay, well, thank you for your time. But
yeah. No, I think that's a huge mindset shift from college into like later 20s and 30s. And that, like just the confidence, because that also comes with being more confident.
Right.
And knowing, like having more experience and like knowing that. So,
and just knowing like it's so much easier like if they like, you know, those things that are red flags or like things that you are like really, really important to you, so much easier to be like, okay, well, this is going to work out than as opposed to like when you're younger, you're more likely to go, well, like maybe like this thing will change or maybe it's not that big of a deal. Or
well, you don't know what you want really. Like, you know, I think back even when I got out of college and I had first moved down here, like I didn't really know.
Mm-hmm.
And so you do kind of have to like figure that aspect of it out. I mean, I feel like very few people, maybe we do a poll on this. We haven't done a poll on the Instagram in a while, but like, I feel like very few people are in their early 20s and in college and are like, I want a guy who, you know, it's going to be very like kind of, I feel like top level of like, I want him to like get along with my family and I want him to have a good job and like less kind of like these traits of like, I don't know. Now I can't even think of anything off the top of my head, of course, but
like more of the like actual like personal traits that make you compatible or not.
Right. Exactly. Like, or like, I want to feel a certain way, or I really fucking hate it when guys tickle me.
I hate tickling in general. I really do.
I need somebody to respect that.
Well, on that note, I think we kind of like summed up some advice we would probably give to our younger selves. One would definitely be not assuming, you know, someone's intentions or
I think too, like letting people's behavior speak for themselves. Like I'm not going to be fooled now by flattering someone being charismatic and charming and thinking like that means something necessarily. Like I'm going to see how they play out and like what their behavior says about them. Yeah.
And what you want is important versus waiting for them to make that decision for you.
Yeah. And that it's okay to be intentional, straightforward about like exactly like what you want and what you're looking for. And like, if they have a reaction about that, then like, okay, you're too insecure for me anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Well, cool. Where can people find y'all?
At mcraigpdx on Instagram.
I'm at most_babbling on Insta too, like babbling Brooke. Yeah.
I love it every time you describe it like that. So
well, because I think like we had this conversation last night at the bar of like someone was like, I'm babbling. What is that? I'm like, you
Like
know, like that's what my
babbling
name is. It's my high school rapper name, so no big deal.
I love it. And you can find me at Marie R. Carlson everywhere and us at Swipe and the City. Thank you so much for listening. Cheers.
Time to go to brunch.
Cheers.